Hey guys, I've got incredibly exciting news for the future of Poser. Michel Willard has just put out a press release stroke Q&A in conjunction with German programmer Stefan Werner. Stefan Werner worked on Poser from 2001 to 2016. Now, for those of you in the know, 2016 was roughly when Smith Micro abandoned the program. They released Poser 11 and then it just kind of died the death until it was bought by Bondware. As always, I think the program has suffered from a lack of commitment, and I very much feared that that might be the case with Bondware, although they have a far greater vested interest in its success than any previous owner with the sale of content via Renderosity. So they have hired Stefan Werner to come back and join the team. Sadly, only for a month, if I'm reading this correctly. Stefan says, "I'm only on I'm only full time on Poser in October, but I hope to have another." To have one or the other odd hour that I can work on it after that. However, what I think this shows, Stefan is a programmer with some serious chops, C++ and other things, and he has some serious chops in the programming arena. He's written a load of code for Blender, and he was also instrumental in integrating Blender's Cycles or Superfly renderer into Poser. And one of the features that Poser users have really missed that Blender users had was a real-time preview. And he says here that he is actually working on the research and development on bringing in Cycles X Viewport, the instant preview rendering feature from Blender. So that gives me massive hope in so many different areas. For a start, a live preview in Cycles or Superfly has been missing since Superfly was added to Poser, and its absence really is a real problem because you have no idea what the effective changes are while developing one of the very complicated Superfly materials until you actually give it a test render. So the ability to have an instant render is just fantastic. So that alone, I think, is extremely exciting. I'd be incredibly surprised if you can achieve that in a single month. However, what it shows to me is a commitment by Bondware to continuing to push Poser forwards rather than just leaving it steady. And I'm also hoping, he says here that he's working on cleanup of outstanding Cycles issues as well as research and development on bringing Cycles X Viewport. So reading between the lines here, he's not saying that he's going to bring Cycles X Viewport, merely that he's helping with R&D, he's helping the team with it. I wouldn't imagine that we're going to see that anytime soon, but at least if they can clean up outstanding Cycles issues, then it will be more stable and produce better results. And why that really matters is that there's a massive disparity between Cycles renders in Blender, where it originated, and in Poser. And Poser has fallen really far behind DAZ Studio in terms of the render quality, and one of the big retorts for anybody complaining about the quality of Poser is, well, why don't you just export to Blender and learn how to use Blender? But obviously, if Poser's Cycles render or Superfly renderer was as good as Blender, you wouldn't need to leave Poser to go into Blender. I've always thought that was unreasonable to say to amateur hobbyists, well, go off and learn that professional program to get reasonable results, when you can get really good results in another rival amateur program. So the fact that Stefan is bringing his expertise to improve the quality of Cycles within Poser is tremendously exciting, and I'm just so happy to see that Bondware are continuing to show commitment to Poser's evolution and growth, because it means that they're not buying it just to sit there and rest on their laurels, but they actually want to do something with it that will make it attractive to new users and maybe bring back users who have moved on to DAZ or even more professional programs. So Anyway, you know, I don't know how much Stefan is going to accomplish in a month, and I dare say that a programmer with 15 years experience, 20 years experience, doesn't come cheap. So it doesn't surprise me that Bondware didn't take him on full time, especially as Stefan's a freelance programmer, so he probably enjoys that lifestyle. But well done to Bondware for bringing him on at all, and also just another little throwaway at the bottom here, and it's a mixed blessing. Michelle says, in the meantime, the rest of the, or is this Stefan? Whoever. It says, in the meantime, the rest of the team is working on Unimesh models for animation, games, and VR AR projects. That, you know, I'm glad that they're working on new stuff, but there's so much basic stuff that they need to fix. This was a problem with DAZ Studio and DAZ 3D, that they decided that they wanted to take on professional markets and VR. So they dumbed down their figures, and what it did was reduce the evolution of the figures to be to make them VR compatible. So they needed to be lower resolution and easier to use, and as a result, the quality of their models was somewhat hampered. So I very much hope that Poser or Bondware are not trying to expand their market when they haven't even solidified the market they have. Anyway, either way, I thought that you'd find this really good news. So you have a great day, guys.